everybody, welcome to School of Scarlet. Today I have another intuitive message for you. Today's message came through to provide you more freedom, go a little bit deeper, and free you of something else. This video is an activation to release any crutches that you may have. So stay tuned for this video. I have about 3 different things that came through intuitively to share with you today. If you are new here, I would love if you would subscribe to my channel, if you would hit that notification bell, that you would come back for my daily intuitive messages. Okay, so a few things happened. Something happened in my garden. I had a couple of visions around what I'm going to be talking about here today. And I watched something on the news last night. So I'll start with what I saw on the news last night. Last night, they were talking about that there was going to possibly be a ban on THC in our area of Texas. Okay, I live in the state of Texas, and what's legal in other states isn't legal here, but they do have smoke shops everywhere. And so I don't know where y'all live. Comment down below. I would love to know where y'all live. I'm in Texas, and so over the years, maybe the last 5 years, smoke shops have popped up everywhere. I live in a very small rural town, and even in my small rural town, there's about 6 smoke shops in my town, which is crazy because there's probably just as many restaurants. So it's really crazy to think that. And if you go more into Houston or, the bigger cities, it's just full of smoke shops on every corner. You'll see more smoke shops than you do anything else. So why is this happening? Well, last night in the news story, they were talking to people that were basically saying that the substances at these smoke shops changed their life, that they provided them great relief around their pain, around their anxiety, around their sleep issues. So they said that these substances essentially saved their life, and these were the words that the people used. So what came through as I was kind of listening to the story was I could feel into what they were feeling, but at the same time I could see their higher version and see them in their completed form. So sometimes we do have situations in life that, we need crutches for. So what I saw was an image of crutches. And so sometimes there might be an injury, like the person in the news story was talking about had a pain problem. Maybe there's something, emotionally happening with us where, we need something to kind of help us, a crutch in that time. Just as if you were to break your leg or hurt yourself, you would need a crutch to hold yourself up for that time that you're healing. But you're not meant to carry that crutch or use that crutch for the rest of your life. Can you imagine breaking your leg and having your leg healed, and then you get your cast off and everything like that, but you're still running around with a crutch? It makes no sense. So the other thing that came through for me when I was listening to these stories about these people that, were saying that these substances saved their life, was my daughter as a baby. And so she held on to her pacifier a little bit longer than usual. She loved her little green pacifier she got at the hospital. And I think she was almost like 2 years old, if not already 2, by the time she was still not wanting to give it up. So I had to really help her to give that pacifier up because it began to hurt her teeth. And if she would continue to use the pacifier, her teeth would be kind of outward and they wouldn't develop properly. So I had to do something with her, and I kind of made it fun for her. I talked about her, that there was a such thing as a pacifier fairy, and that she was going to give that pacifier to a baby who actually needs it to soothe themselves. She is older now, and I would, tell her, we do these things when we get sad. We do these things when we want to rest, and teaching her the things that are appropriate for her age to emotionally soothe herself. Now, that's another thing. If we can imagine that we still hung on to our pacifier up until the adulthood, we wouldn't develop naturally how we should. We wouldn't develop our emotional intelligence to the place we're supposed to. There are milestones and there's reasons that we give up our pacifier and things like that at certain time periods. Firstly, it can hold us back in our development of our dental. It can hold us back in our emotional development as well. And then later on, you can get teased, all these different things for just having a pacifier. So pacifiers are meant to be left behind, right, at a certain age. And so are crutches. When you heal that leg, it's time to let it go. So many people who have had these injuries, or whether it's an emotional injury or a physical injury or something like that, when you heal that, when you work on that and you truly feel it through, there's going to be a certain point in time that it's time to let go of the substance that you're using. So it's not that the substance is bad. It's not that you should have never taken the substance. Sometimes we are called or drawn to taking a certain substance for some reason because that is what we need at the time. But at some point we surpass that substance. So each substance has its actual energy. It has a certain energetic level to it, and you could call it a frequency, a vibration, and you carry a vibration in your being as well, in your body. And at some point that whatever substance it is, it might have, you may have been at a lower vibration and you needed that substance to give you that boost, and it was making you feel good for a certain amount of time. But at some time that's going to flip. You are going to become stronger in your consciousness and your awareness, and your vibration is naturally going to rise where you're not going to need that substance, and that substance is actually going to bring you down. And that's when it begins to feel kind of bad to take these substances. So at some point you have to let them go. And when that becomes the case, that's the time to let go of that crutch, let go of that pacifier. You no longer need it. You are healed past that point. So these people that are on these news stations talking about that they need this forever, that, they are not going to see how they can live after this if they ban this substance. That's a really tough thing. But one of the things is if it gets banned, it may be for them to grow. So oftentimes things are taken from us because it's time for them to go. Just like with the pacifier fairy, we took those pacifiers and they were gone. They were nowhere to be found in that house. And the only way for that to work, for my daughter not to go back to the pacifier, was to literally go and throw them away. If she had found them in a drawer, if she had found them in my bag or somewhere hidden in the house, she would have certainly gone back to using it. And anybody who has had a child knows that's true. So you have to sometimes get rid of it completely. And so this might be a call to someone, a confirmation to someone to get something out of your life. These substances, these things, not just the substance I'm talking about in this video, but many others. What I'm talking about as far as a substance is not to attack that substance. There are many other crutches, from food to, many other things, alcohol, numbing yourself with anything is really a dissociation from yourself. So when you are one with God, there is nothing to dissociate from. When you are one with God, you don't want to dissociate from this world at all, because you have everything with oneness that you have with God. And yes, there's uncomfortable feelings that come up. There's still anxiety that comes up. There can still be pain that comes up. And you may think it could be very easy for me to speak on this, but I had suffered with anxiety very strong, and I still have anxiety. It's not that it goes away completely, but it certainly softens. And I had a pretty bad back injury. So I've had a back injury, and I still have a back injury. If you look at my MRIs, my back injury is very severe. But when you feel into what is going on with you, when you feel into that pain, when you feel into that anxiety, and you allow it to be there and not dissociate from it, you are one with God, because that is everything. You are not resisting life. You're not resisting the sensations that are coming up. When you're resisting, you're wanting to dissociate. Anything that makes you uncomfortable, you're looking for a crutch. You're looking for a way to dissociate, which is why all of these substances exist. Because at some point, it becomes so unbearable for some people that they do want to dissociate. Or maybe even the smallest bit of pain makes them want to dissociate. But the more that you go along your journey, you're not going to want to dissociate. And the pain may even get greater. But being in that pain, being in that moment actually brings you closer and closer to God, because God is there in your hardest times. And so when you are one with God, you don't want to dissociate. Those substances go out the window. So this is a call to someone to let go of those substances. The other intuitive message that came through was something that happened yesterday and actually a couple days before. If y'all know, I have my own vegetable garden. I grow my own food. And I have a channel where I share that. So you can go check that out at Scarlett's Intuitive Life. Just a small plug for that channel. But that's not what this is about. I'm growing a garden, and this year something has happened that has never happened. We have a mole in the garden. And so this mole at first went around and picked all of the new seeds that we had planted. So nothing was sprouting, and we didn't understand what was happening, but we saw like these tunnels. And I just recently took a video, I'll have it probably up tomorrow, of what the mole did to the garden. When we realized this, we replanted all of the seeds. So we went out and we purchased new seeds and we planted them all again. Well, last night I went out again to check the garden, and the mole was back. The mole had taken every single seed that we had replanted. So moles work underneath the ground. You can't see them, and oftentimes they come out at night and they're under the ground. You can't ever see it happening. If it wasn't for those little bit of tunnel that you can kind of see the little bit of soil that's disturbed from the top, you wouldn't even know that it was there or that it had happened. So what I did was I dug into like where I had, put a seed, and I checked for the seed through the soil, and there was no seed. So I knew that the mole had been there. And this was an intuitive message that came through as I was thinking about this mole, that oftentimes there's things running in our lives that are very unconscious to us. They're running in the darkness, in the shadows. They're like essentially a shadow. That's basically what they are. And those things run in our lives, and it seems like everything's fine on the surface, but what's going on underneath is a problem. And it can really hinder you from growing. Just like there's not going to be any seed sprouting, there could be something in your life underneath the surface that you don't see and you don't recognize, but it could be hindering your growth. And so, for example, something like the substance that I was talking about earlier in this video, we think that it's helping us. We think that it's aiding us in all kinds of ways. But essentially, it could be holding you back from growth. It could be limiting you. It could be suppressing you, dissociating you from your actual full being. And so maybe your creativity is hindered. Maybe you don't have all of the energy to do the things that you want to do. Maybe you're so dissociated in whatever it happens to be. It could even be watching TV shows or something, that you are wasting your life force energy somewhere else rather than creating from your authentic self something that you are, passionate about. So it's time to examine our life for any moles. Are there any moles running under the surface? Is there anything under there taking and stealing the things that are going to help you grow? Is there anything stealing your seed? Maybe you're planting a seed, but it's not growing. Examine your life today for any shadows or anything that you may have to look for. Be free in this moment. This video is to evoke freedom from you so that you don't have to rely on any substance, anything upset your oneness with God. And that is all that you need. You need to be one with God. And when you're one with God, that is all you need. You don't need to rely on anything outside of yourself to soothe you, to pacify you, to be your crutch for the rest of your life. Those things were temporary. They helped you in the moment, but they don't need to be in your life for the rest of your life. So when can you give them up? That is the question here today. Okay, so this message was an intuitive message. I put these messages out daily. I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel, if you would help me out by giving me a like, commenting down below. If you are done with a substance, if you are done with something that you're pacifying in your life, it doesn't have to be a substance. It could be anything that you are using to dissociate from something here in this life, something that you're using to resist life. Comment down below, I am done. When you declare that, you now put it out into the universe, and it manifests itself in a very powerful way. So declare it down below and begin to live it. So I am thankful for you being here today and being here for this message. If it was helpful to you, I would encourage you to share it with others. Give me a thumbs up once again. Comment down below, all that good stuff. I will catch you on our next message. I love you all.